Hi, welcome to my channel. This channel is about science against some wrong views from science and against the current view of astronomy, the science of astronomy especially. I say that we can go to the stars in this generation. So this video is about John Lennox. I usually cut from other videos and I comment them, but it's not so much for to comment in this video. It is a mathematician, and I bring back something for him, like some days, like a tribute. You know, although I comment in a cynical manner sometimes, but this is like a tribute. You bring back something to this mathematician. But maybe if you will come across this, so I will not comment only at the end of the video what he is saying. I will intersect like a few minutes what I'm telling, and few minutes from one of his video, and I'll make 3 videos like this, big ones, about the philosophy of mathematics. He is a mathematician. Okay, so I always wondered why he does not speak about mathematics more in these talks. Mainly as a Christian. Okay, so this is the, if you will came across this, is like a tribute, not an attack. So this guy John Lennox, if you know, it's a mathematician. It's going to be about mathematics, geometry in special, and I'll connect this with philosophy of mathematics. And at the end I will comment what he is saying. I will show to him what is wrong about Newton, and they do not know what gravity is and what Newton did. They are mistaken. Not John Lennox only, but more of them. So many of them. This is the main cause for the Big Bang and things like this. So they entail with this gravity something that they do not know. So this John Lennox watched 3 minutes, 2 minutes, let's see, and they came back. I will talk about mathematics from the beginning, from the mathematical point.
Let's take the first point, where you said science has explained how the universe came to be. It hasn't. And that was the surprise I found in reading Hawking's more recent book. I was quite amazed to read the following key sentence in the book. It goes like this: because there is a law like gravity, the universe can and will create itself from nothing. And that was the reason he gave for saying we don't need God. But just think of the statement. Because there is a law like gravity, that is, because there is something, the universe will create itself from nothing. That's a flat contradiction before you start.
Good evening, everybody. How are you doing? Good to see you. Welcome to Westminster Chapel and to what I'm sure will be a really, really interesting conference this evening, the Practical Wisdom Conference. We're talking, of course, this evening about faith in the age of science. Very often in our era, many people, especially atheists, have claimed that science effectively disproves God. Well, someone who has been answering those atheists directly for a number of years is, of course, John Lennox. John is a well-known Christian thinker. He is Emeritus Professor of Mathematics and the Philosophy of Science at the University of Oxford. And I've had the privilege of interviewing and bringing John into conversation with many skeptics over many years. Myself, my role here is that I've been hosting conversations between skeptics and Christians for a number of years, in fact, over 15 years. Some people know me from The Unbelievable Show, which I hosted for 17 years or more. And I'm currently engaged in some new projects, and I'll be excited to tell you about those as well a little later on in the evening. But really, you're here to obviously see and hear from John Lennox. So I'd like to invite both Samuel and John to join me on stage as they begin this evening. Do give them a round of applause.
So if you watch that, you know this is the way I make my videos. But I intersected the philosophy of mathematics. what do you do not understand? That the mathematics is the basis of all the sciences. So somehow the mathematics is wrong, or you understand mathematics like philosophical manner, you will understand the science in general, all the science that they are based on mathematics. So this, if the mathematics will fall somehow, or if the mathematics will be wrong or wrongly understood, or the philosophy of mathematics, so it is conceptually to be understood better, that you understand that the scientists are like, you break the on what they stand, okay? So they do not understand many things about mathematics, about geometry, and they bragging about some kind of deductive reasoning, analytic reasoning from elements, from like, this is their mistake by unknowing mathematics. So I bring a hammer for you, like a joke. You see it as a square, and we'll talk about some circles and squares. But Nietzsche says that the idols have legs of like, and let me show you how to make philosophy with a hammer, Nietzsche, but by citing Daniel, the prophet. He was seeing a big, like with a head of gold head, and everything was from metal and gold and brass and copper and iron, but the legs were mixed with ceramics, okay? So this is what Nietzsche says. If you understand that idols have poor legs, basically you do not hit them in the head. The head is from gold, you hit the legs, okay? So this is exactly he was saying about basis of the basis of some philosophy. So the basis for the science that are based on mathematics is there has a base on mathematics. So you hit the legs, the mathematics, if you understand. So it is wrong mathematics. Maybe nobody, you do not understand it is based on belief. From the elements of the Greek, they do not understood anymore that geometry was based on this kind of analyticity or simplicity of the elements. He knew when he made the geometry, Euclid, to understand some basis like elements. He named the elements. So you have some basis, and from this basis you put them, and you make a building, okay? So but from that one, the mistake were accumulating, like somehow you see this theorem, axiomes, there are some basis of principles at the basis of every science, and from that one you construct like this. And they forget philosophy, and they do not know philosophy in deep manner, so they forget that this analyticity was only supposed like to have like a seemingly based with steps analytics, like you put some theorems at the steps, so and then you combine some of them like through seemingly a deductive process, and you obtain bigger theorem, axiom for step like manner. And they forget real stuff about philosophy. Immanuel Kant said that the mathematics synthetics a priori synthetics. What this means, nobody wants to understand this anymore, okay? But because then they have, if you understand what I'm speaking like this, they make this antinomy between science and religion. So religion is based on belief, and science is this ordered temple, like from axioms, proposition elements, and deductive reasoning, and they do not know about the subject and object that is knowing. So the subject is a mind, like they do not know things like this, and they are like a children, okay? So this antinomy is more stupid than they want you to believe, like science against religion. So that's why let's hit this Euclid geometry at the basis for you to understand why Kant said that that the mathematics synthetics. You see the elements of Euclid. Like, let's take a line. So it's a philosophy of mathematics. I always wonder why, because you can find in mathematics some basis for belief and for God and for the reasoning of the mind. I think if you understand, they try to reduce at logic and mathematics, and they do it cannot. Okay, so the entire world is more metaphysical than you believe. Is not like only logical mathematics. And if you do not believe this, this is implying more than you are believing that in the world exist objects that they are not derived from a logic and mathematics, but from a mind that control metaphysics. So but let me bring you to the geometrical point. You see, this is a point. This is a point. It will explain to you mathematics basically and geometry, and why Kant said that's the mathematics synthetics a priori. Nobody understand. Okay, so we have a point, like the point. The point is the basis of a line. The point is the basis of, is a concept, is one. Okay, is one point. Okay, is not 2 points, is one. Is equal with him, is not equal with him. The point, you see what I already implied is that at the basis of mathematics you are supposing the whole intellect. So the intellect, you already see that you cannot have him, you must have it a priori, like Kant said, to understand the point. You look at this point, the semantics, how we will say in this video, they will touch a little bit on semantics. This point you cannot understand it only by using the intellect, and the intellect is given a priori, like so they were saying somehow that it is derived for experience. Okay, but this was a real fight in philosophy, but they forget this, and they now are tricking you like small children. This antinomy, science versus so I want to believe you. I want to tell you that if in the first place the simple point of mathematics supposes beliefs. Okay, so let me take another break, and you will come. This is the way I will talk these 3 videos about the philosophy of mathematics. This discipline exists. I study philosophy, and in this manner I discovered the Big Bang is false, and all the physics, the science is Newton, and Leibniz. Okay, so so I will comment inclusively some things that they are saying, but let's only intersect them. Okay, and you add this from the basis, and then you'll see what I have to say. So watch another few minutes from John Lennox.
Welcome everyone to Practical Wisdom, and thank you very much for joining us. My name is Samuel Maruska, and today we're going to be talking about faith in God and science. And there's no one better suited to have this conversation with than Professor John Lennox. John, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to Practical Wisdom.
Well, thank you very much, Samuel, and ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for coming. I'd just like to say how grateful I am to Samuel and the team that have organized this, because as Justin has just said, getting discussion, public discussion on the big ideas is increasingly important as our culture disintegrates by various influences that come around. Now, I want to encourage you to read Justin's book afterwards. And I want to tell you that Samuel is a formidable interviewer, and that we have not colluded. I don't know what he's going to ask me. So I sit here in fear and trembling and look forward to the questions that he's going to put to me.
John, you've engaged in many debates with intellectuals and really heavyweight thinkers, people like Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens, and many other influential atheists. Many people in this room will know you from these debates. Can you talk a little bit about these debates? which one was one of the most remarkable one? And also, what have you gained? What insights have you gained from this experience?
I suppose one of the most remarkable ones, and partly for a humorous reason, was the debate with Professor Peter Singer, who's one of the world's leading ethicists. And I was invited to debate him on his home turf, that is in Melbourne City Hall, some years ago, although he teaches at Princeton. And in the opening remarks, I'm always open with audiences and point out that my parents were Christian. And when he started, he said, well, there goes my main objection against all religion. People stay in the religion in which they were brought up. And when I heard that, I thought, this is going to be very interesting. Because when I got a chance to speak, I said, Peter, I told them about my parents. Tell me about your parents. Were they atheists? Yes, he said, they were atheists. So I said, you've stayed in the faith in which you grew up then. Oh, but he said, it isn't a faith. Oh, Peter, I said, I'm very sorry. I thought you believed it. And cyberspace went mad at that time, that here was one of the world's leading thinkers who didn't realize that his atheism was a belief system. And you notice how carefully Dr. Maruska Samuel introduced this. He talked about faith in God, because all people are people of faith. Everybody's got a worldview that they believe. And this really exposed one of the biggest problems we have in our culture, that Christians are regarded as people of faith. That means they believe where there's no evidence. But atheists, they're not people of faith. They're rational. And fighting against that is one of the things I've been doing for a long time. What have I learned from it? That's hard to assess. I've learned that it's pretty scary debating some of these people, certainly that. And also, it has confirmed my faith enormously, because spending a lot of time unpicking these arguments, as I grow older, I find them less and less intellectually impressive. But I think it's so important that we enter this debate, or we have shows like Justin has been doing for years, to allow people to see both sides of the debate. I think that's a very healthy thing. And it enables people to see that Christianity has actually got very powerful evidence to support it. And we need to know that evidence.
So if you watch that, now let's continue from the point. Why can't say that the mathematics synthetics a priori? You see, you have the intellect. Intellect judges this is one. This is not two. This is identical with it. It is missing something or not. The point is a basis. The point is a basis of a line in mathematics. You see, a cumulus of points, says Euclid, only now intervenes. Like you see, many points in a row. If you have many points in a row, they are making a line. The Euclid says like this. But the point, if you try to think what is the point, you understand it is not dimensional. It is not have any dimensions, because it will have a dimension. You must say what is the dimension. So you will use something with dimensionality to measure the dimensionality in this manner. So if you are able to extract the dimensionality, the mathematics is reduced at some concept. But the concepts are they are not, you cannot reduce the concept of reality. The intellect is a priori, in a sense that they are atoms. Like you have atoms of elements like this. But the elements are not combined concepts like with an analytic manner, to combine them in an analytic manner to deduce something from something. They're like pictures. The subject is not correlated to predicate like this. It is added. So it is added. How they are possible, he was asking, because it's like two pictures, separate picture, the subject picture and the predicate picture. Okay, so you understand that there are some atoms of thought of thinking process. What were these atoms of Immanuel Kant? 12 categories were known about Descartes time. But this Euclid guy was not this smart, okay, to understand already there was some prior roots in the philosophy of Plato about these concepts, and Plato himself speaks about in a deep manner about mathematics, okay, but this guy was not able. Geometry means to measure the land, so you must measure the land, the geometry. I don't know, for British people, but to take land or something, it was not capable of a deep level of reasoning like Plato. Few or okay, so he understood that you have some axioms, and from there you derive. This is the basis of the actual science mistake. Okay, you are believing that somehow in a step manner, but knowing that it's synthetic analytics, how Kant says, you have a picture of an axiom, mental axiom, and it seems to you in your heart that it is combined another axiom to make a theorem, okay? So because was the basis how the Euclid was understanding. So it is like an easy matter to present a few simple axioms to understand, like a line is a cumulus of points. Euclid says that a line, you see, you now you make a line, but no, let's talk about more about a point. So you see, Kant says that you have these categories to understand a point. Of one, of their category of causality, relation, and things like this from logic, from 12 concept of logic, okay? So there are 12 or there are 20, there are 30, I believe there are more. Not because Kant said so. If you understand this point, if you understand to be identical with him, it is the same point. It is like a being, or Parmenides was fighting. It is the being. It is static being, or like a river. Like there were two thoughts in that. So if you want to put a nail like in this, you must have some assertion, like to say that it is one, it is the same one. If you put your thought around this point, you say that it is the same point for the second time you put the thought on him or not. So it is a consistency of being, like, so one, it is identical with one, it is equal, like equality. Thing is equal with itself. You see, I am equal myself, I maintain some, this is the equality in mathematics, okay? So you see these concepts, 12 of categories that I believe that there are more. Plato gives more or something. They are in an intellect, and they are basis of thought, thinking process. So this is atom of thought, and nobody can reduce them on some reality. You cannot reduce the identity or the identity. So it is like a monolith. The intellect is like monolith, giving monolith for you to understand mathematics. Okay, so it's in easy manner. So it is not, you cannot reduce them, you see, like in a manner or reductionist manner, like they wanted to reduce the entire reality of energy, of light, or something like this. This is like child thinking, okay? So the thought himself has some atoms indivisible by the original name. You cannot reduce the identity of at equality or something like this. So you are giving in the intellect. So you are believing that this point is equal with itself. You are believing that nobody is stealing from you when you put the thought another time on it, and it is the same, and you are believing this. So at the basis of axiom there's belief. So the basis of all science, I showed to you Nietzsche, they make this stupid antinomy, belief versus science. You understand that they are childlike. You cannot have belief. You believe that the predicate is combined with subject to make a proposition, logical proposition, because Kant says you cannot derive it. Like you make an infinite derivation between predicate and subject. Okay, So you understand now that the whole intellect, logical intellect, is supposed to understand the point, mathematical point. So now your pretension that the physics is like not based on beliefs is wrong. What is belief? You believe the identity is identity. You believe, you understand. So now you understand that what he says, that many points form a line. You see, like one from Euclid, axiomes. You see, you jump, but already you understand that the second derivative or the first set of beliefs, like this is one. It is the same with itself. It is containing the existence. Think about it. The second time you understand the intellect is supposed again. And this time it made a difference between the concept are multiplying, because you do not think about the unity and equality in the same time, in the same manner, like a point. So if you're using the same intellect, the intellect is like duplicating itself, multiplying itself. You understand? So again, it is belief, because nobody is guaranteeing you these things. So now you understand the axiom of mathematics are supposing the entire 12 categories of Kant. And okay, so now let me tell you about belief more. So now, how many points there are in a point? You see, this is the axiom of Euclid. I've read the book. Nobody mentions anymore this stuff, but okay. But he says that a line does not have dimension like this, only like this. So now you understand, you already judge the point that is not dimensional, because in the first point we did not think about the point that it is dimensional on some axis. Like this is a vector, to say that you see a point has a point, so has like here in this direction dimensionality. If you understand, so if you understand, like if you do not understand like this in deep matter, it's a philosophy of mathematics, okay, or mathematics, something like this. But if you do not understand this stuff, you came like bragging, and then the science, but you understand that the science supposes geometry, and you understand what wonders of thought and reasoning suppose that you will understand, and what sound of beliefs. Okay, so this is from the axiom of Euclid directly. The point has dimensionality in this direction, but not in this one. But now from where he got the dimensionality? Because if you treat it like a point, it is undimensional. It's totally undimensionally. So if you want to understand the infinity, now you must understand that rather the first point was infinite. If you treat some measurable distances or units, you already are tricked somehow. The infinite supposes unlimited, unlike you do not have borders. So basically the concepts are more like infinite that you are believing, because this one you can measure them somehow. The first point was infinite. So the dimensionality is another kind of finite. So from what got the dimension? Because you see, the original does not have the dimension. So already you have some contradiction when you are making a line. If you understand, if you will understand this, you understand that they are bragging like small children, not understanding the intellect and geometry in deep matter to understand. So this is the way my way of like a tribute for. So let's continue now. So he says that there's dimensionality in this axis, but you cannot conceive that is not a dimension on this axis, because then how a multitude of point or linear point make a line to be dimensional? But if the point you define in not having dimension, the sound or non-dimension makes dimension. You understand? If you analyze it like this, you understand what big defects or logical reasoning is in mathematics. Like, So the mathematics, it is not an uncontradictory piece of reasoning to study the world. So it is auto and self-contradictory already, if you understand. A point has no dimension, has already dimension. And I'll show to you more, okay, if you stick with me. So has dimension on this axis. You see, I speak with concepts. If you understand this, you will understand. Okay, but now let me ask you another thing. How close is the second point to this point? You understand? Because if you in mathematics you have something that tends to zero, the dimension. But if you have a dimensionality already, you know the dimensionality, so the dimension is given like a priori somehow. Because if not, so if not, you will not understand the dimensionality somehow. Where is the second point? Where is the second point? So where is the second point? In your vicinity, like in a continuum. Where continuum? Okay. So now let me tell you, if you are quick to say that from empiricity comes somehow. Now let me show to you that a point is 2 points. You see. So this is directly from the axiom. If you are if you are quick to judge and to say mathematics and then physics, and you will understand that it's full of errors and concepts at the basis. Okay, so and beliefs, that a sum of beliefs and a sum of synthetic thoughts, and it is not quite without belief. So this is what I've told you. Let's hit the idols in the legs, and then you will see that the head, it will collapse. Okay, the seemingly gold head. So watch another section from John Lennox, and then you came at the basis of thoughts and mathematics.
So you mentioned faith there, and you obviously have very interesting ideas on faith in God and science. And the Canadian philosopher Charles Taylor has this secularization theory, and he wrote extensively about this. And he said, in ancient times, people needed God to explain supernatural things. So, for example, if you had a solar eclipse, people in ancient times would think that would be the wrath of God manifested. But nowadays, that science has explained that, we don't need God anymore. So science has replaced God. We know there's no mystery there. We know how the planets move. We can explain what happens during a solar eclipse, and we can actually predict all of this next solar eclipse for the next 1,000 years. So science has replaced God. This is part of the secularization theory. And we live in a very secular society in the UK. And also there's this God of the gaps view, which says, and many atheists and thinkers will say, look, Christians are some perhaps more lazy thinkers, because if they can't explain something, they just say, well, we can't explain it, therefore God did it. And this is the label that many atheists would put on Christian thought. What is your view on the God of the gaps theory?
Well, it may apply to some people, but I don't think it applies to me, as I'll try to explain. But there are really two questions hidden there. There's this notion that God and science are alternatives in terms of explanation. And for a long time, I couldn't understand why people as bright as Stephen Hawking constantly said to the public, you've got to choose between God and science. And I realized for a long time that part of the reason for that was they didn't understand the nature of scientific explanation. Now that may sound like a very arrogant claim for me to make, but actually it's quite simple. we need to realize that the God explanation and the science explanation are different kinds of explanation. And I often give a very simple example to illustrate it that even some professors can understand. And it's this. Why is the water boiling? Well, because the heat energy is agitating the molecules of water and is boiling. Well, that's a scientific explanation. But I could equally well say it's boiling because I want a cup of tea. Now, that is an agent, personal explanation. Now, think about those two explanations. They're different, but they do not compete. They do not conflict. They complement each other. And I often say to people, the God explanation is the agent-type explanation. God is the explanation of why there is a universe at all and why there are scientists there to study it. He's not competing in that sense at all. And we need both, as I find most school children can say. The second thing is that many contemporary thinkers have lost the idea of a God who's a transcendent creator who upholds the universe. And they think of God in terms of the Greek god of thunder. They couldn't explain thunder, as you said, so they postulated God. It's very important to realize that the God of the Bible is not in that category. There's a brilliant writer in Oxford at one stage, Werner Jaeger, who was an expert on the Greek gods and the Babylonian gods, and he made this point, which I think is very important. He said, all the gods of the ancient philosophies and religions are, quote, descended from the heavens and the earth. That is, they were actually part of the original material cosmos. The God of the Bible created the heavens and the earth. So they are completely different categories. Now, with that as background, let me come to the heart of your question, which is the God of the gaps. Now, I'm allergic to this in the sense that I do not want people to think that I believe in a God of the gaps. So how do I deal with it? Well, in several different ways. I'm going to go for the easiest one. And it's this, that...
So if you watch that now, so I've told you that this is directly from axiom. But now let me show to you another thing, that the point is multiple points and it is infinite. So in a point there are infinite points. Let me show to you, like from mathematics, okay, in a deductive reasoning manner, okay. So let me show to you. So from a point exterior, from a point you can make a segment, okay, so or a line. So but now you can have like an intersection in a point, no, like this. So this is the intersection point for both these. But now let me analyze again from this. If this point has dimensionality in this axis, now you'll understand that this axis has this point has dimensionality in the other dimension.
Think of Isaac Newton and his wonderful law of gravitation. And I used to love explaining it to students, how you get an equation with 8 symbols in it, and from it you could deduce the motion of the planets around the sun. It is just brilliant stuff. Now, when Newton discovered that, did he think, right, I have now got an equation that allows me to deduce the motion of the planets from it. I don't need God. No, he didn't. He wrote what was perhaps the most brilliant book in the history of science, the Principia Mathematica, and he dedicated it with the hope that thinking people would see in it evidence for the existence of a divine intelligence behind the universe, because his argument was this: I found this wonderful mathematical description of what goes on in between heavy bodies and how they move. What a brilliant God who did it that way. And it's exactly that in the way we normally think. If you know a lot about painting, you will see much more in a Rembrandt picture than I would, who am pretty ignorant about art, although I like it. You can see the genius. If you're an engineer, you'll see much more in a Rolls-Royce engine than I possibly would, because you see the evidence. And to my mind, God is not a God of the gaps. He is the most powerful explanatory power to make sense of the whole thing. I'm a mathematician. The very fact that we can do mathematics, to me, is an indicator that this is a word-based universe, to put it that way.
So this point becomes a cross-dimensional cross. Otherwise, you cannot intersect, you cannot prolong them, okay? So if you understand, you understand that it is a miracle, the mathematics is a miracle even, and it is exactly like a miracle. You cannot pull it like in a step-like manner from theorems. That are stupid stuff for the professor to make imbecile the children, to pretend somehow that they do not understand. They are pictures with small propositions, you name the elements, okay? But if you understand that the basis is contradictory. But let me show you that this point is infinite points in it. Now, how you can say, how can you observe this, okay? So this is a single point or 2 points. You see, because if you treat it that it is like you have some how do you say this, okay? Now in mathematics, okay, this sign, this point, it is of this line, okay, but this points also to this line. So this point, it is for both lines, these lines, okay? So it is 1 or 2. In this case, it should be 1, because if it be 2, you understand that now in the dimensionality there are 2 points, like in the same on dimension, there are 2 points somehow, okay? So now it should be 1. But what happens if I put this line and I non-intersect it? You see, the intersection line will have a point here and a point there. So what happens when you pull a point from a point? It doubles somehow, okay? So you see, even the concept of division or things like this, like dividing itself, and somehow you can make infinite this point. You see, like I make many lines in this intersection like this. Look, okay. So how many points now you have here? How many points? And you see, and you understand another thing that it is multiplying, like the reasoning is multiplying. When you define something in an ontological manner, you define it in this point-like manner. Then you have another definition. The point becomes more and more existent-like, more and more ontological, concrete, through the intersection of many definitions. So even like God, you see, if you do not say nothing about infinity, in the infinity becomes nothing, because you do not say something about it, okay? So even though it is infinite, it becomes nothing. So this point now, it is defining itself and becomes more and more alive, this point, you see, through the intersection, through you conceptualize it more and more. And okay, so but how many points there are here now? How many points there are here? Now you can consider this infinite points. If you understood the logical reasoning, this has dimensionality in this direction, this in this direction, each line in her direction, like exactly from the axiom of Euclid axiom. So now you reach this, like it becomes an undimensional sphere. This is it, because it has dimensionality in all directions. So you cannot lose this then, okay? So you say that it has dimensionality, because if you do not, you cannot think the dimensionality of the line. It becomes undimensional, like a point. So now you have a circle, this undimensional circle at the intersection here, okay? So but if you break in lines, this, you understand, this point basically is infinite points. And if you understand from unity, again you will understand that in unity, if you have one, you have the possibility to multiply it, 1, 2 like this, 3 like this, 4 like this, and they do not occupy a space, because this unity of geometrical unity is not the unity of logical unity. You see, this is a cup, one cup, this is one, everything is one. This is one from the concept of Kant, okay? So you can make two this, and one is not dimensional like in geometrical manner, only when you treat one in geometrical manner. So now you superimpose the unity like arithmetic unity, like is supposed two kinds of unity, one in a geometrical manner measurable, and one like in a philosophical manner. So you are sure, because one can name the property, so you are sure then that you're intersected correctly, like you see, if you reduce everything at the unity of geometry, if you do not control even the basis. So how many points there are here? Exactly the intersection, this point, it is for every line, and if you break these lines, it will be many points. So it is infinite. You imagine now, like in computer graphics, you bring them together, the point identifies itself, so it becomes many. So it's in a manner, it is infinite. Like how many points you can put in a point? Infinite points. They are not dimensional and become dimensional, and this cross is a circle. So you see how wonderful is, like if you treat it like a game, but you understand that the basis of mathematics is like wonderful, and you understand that when you put this on reality that has dimensions, that it is not a wonder for you to understand how the dimensionality is made, and how what is the distance from the point to a point. You see, it approaches zero, but it must not be zero, then it will be identical with itself. So now you understand the movement. If you move like this point, let's say the point wants to move in this line, okay? So it will intersect another point and another point and another point. With what velocity? And how it is come, it is how you understand the miracle of movement now. It is conserving itself when it moves, and it passes through space. If you understand the miracle, so if you understand, so now it is a discrepancy between the physical world and pure mathematics. If you have a point with a property, like it is a unity one, but has a property, and another object has another property, they are moving mathematically, geometrically in the same manner, but basically they are transporting, like you transport some stuff with your car from a point to another point, a property, a physical property that is not the geometry itself for mathematics, a property. And if you have two properties, A and B properties, the property moves from a point to a point by conserving this miracle of the property, okay? If you understand, so if you understand only from this, that mathematics is wonderful, and where is you can find this antinomy, like science versus belief. You understand that the mathematics, all the science has the basis of belief. You forgot this because you have this bragging stuff, not knowing the basis, that the concepts are irreducible, and the subject is not contained in a predicate, and how they are possible, can't ask. But in you are bragging now that the science, you do not have anything in common with belief. If you do not believe, this line it does not exist. The existence itself is a predicate that you predicate about the point. Why the point should exist? The point is one, is not two. It is composing a line, but where the existence is? Where is the existence of the point? It's in your head, here on paper. So why should you say this point exists? Why? So you see, the subject is added to the predicate in a synthetical manner. You are saying that the point exists, but why? Because you believe this, okay? You are saying that you can have a straight line in your thought, or an intersection or a figure. You can have it in your mind, okay? But everything is done in a synthetical manner, having not in a deductible manner, how they are saying. So, or you're bragging about science and non-belief, and it is be demolished, if you understand this some basis. So let me interrupt another part and to show you John Lennox, and then you will come back. I will continue this analysis of a point, seemingly like nothing. Okay, I bring your thought down smaller than any atom that you can think about, at the atoms of thought.
The very fact that in biology we've discovered the longest word, the human genome, 3.4 billion letters in the chemical alphabet, is evidence of an intelligent mind. That's not a mind of the gaps. It's the only thing that makes sense. Now, I'm looking around the room, but the lights are blinding me. Oh yes, I see a word up there, prayer. How very suitable. There are 2, 4, 6 letters. The moment you see that, what do you deduce? Well, you can see letters. They have meaning to you. You cannot explain that meaning in terms of the physics and chemistry of the paper and paint there. But the moment you see that, there are many mechanical processes that went in producing that sign. But you know, because that carries meaning, it's a word, that behind it there was a mind. Not a mind of the gaps, but a mind that's the only sensible explanation of what you're reading up there. It's that kind of argument, to my mind, that I find extremely convincing.
So you talked about meaning there and semantics and the word semantics. Richard and Ogden published this book in 1923, 100 years ago, called The Meaning of Meaning.
Yes.
And it's a very popular book, and they talked about how language influences thought and affects thought. And they devised the semantic triangle, which is a model of meaning, and you have the symbol or the sign, linguistic sign, on one side. You have the actual thing in reality on the other side, which is the referent. And then you have at the top thought. And it's the relation and the causal relation and interactions of these three that give you meaning. This book actually was very influential in philosophy and also influenced C.S. Lewis in The Abolition of Man, published in 1943, in which he talked about objective moral standards and also natural law. So people and scientists sometimes say, look, there's this universe out there with millions of galaxies, with hundreds of thousands of stars, and they all dance together in a very interesting, in a beautiful rhythm because of the gravity law. But there is no meaning to that. And also, as a human being, which is, as humans, this is a microcosm. There's no meaning in our life either. Does meaning imply intelligent design?
It's interesting that people should even say a thing like that. There is no meaning in it. And they expect me to understand the meaning of that statement. It's one of these incoherent things that people make statements and they are unconsciously accepting themselves. It's like May I tell a little story?
Please do.
Sitting in my Oxford College beside a man who had a book, and he was putting it on the table, and I could see its title was curious, about semantics and so on. I said, "What's your book about?" But he said, "This is a book that shows that there's no such thing as authorial intention." I said, "Pardon?" I said, "You mean if I read your book, I will understand that an author has no intention?" He said, "Exactly." So I said, "I'm not going to read it." So he said, "Why not?" Well, I said, "It must apply to your book as well." Well, he'd never thought about it. He got very angry and he got up and walked out. We never saw him again. This is one of the weaknesses of this sort of loose postmodern style talk that says there's no such thing as truth, but they expect you to believe that statement as a truth. It goes too far. It goes right over the top. Now, I'm very interested in the kind of way in which you pose that question, because another person that influenced Lewis a lot, one of his inklings, was Barfield. And Owen Barfield posed an interesting question. He said, "Why is it we live in a world where we understand how almost everything works and we know the meaning of nothing?" Ian McGilchrist is a very interesting, he's a polymath really, he's a neuroscientist, but roughly speaking, he's been working on something we're all familiar with. When we say, "Jane, you know, she's a real left-brained nerd, always into computers and all this kind of thing. Whereas James, well, he's so right-brained with his head in arts and the clouds and so on." Left and right brain. Well, what Ian McGilchrist claims in his very interesting book, which is called, this is a very interesting title, "The Matter with Things," is that there is substance to these differences between the two brain hemispheres. And roughly speaking, both brain hemispheres are involved in virtually every event in our brains and minds, but the differences are that indeed there is this concentration in the left brain on rational thought, on analysis, on breaking things down, whereas the right brain concerns itself much more with putting things into context and meaning. And he says this: for the last 400 or 500 years, we have neglected the right brain, so that we're living in a world where we know how most things work, but we understand the meaning of nothing. And when our late chief rabbi, Jonathan Sachs, read that, he had a light bulb moment, and he wrote a book because of it, a very interesting book called The Great Partnership. But he put it this way, and I like this formulation, it's very helpful. He said, science takes things apart to see how they work. Religion puts them together to see what they mean.
So if you watch John Lennox, okay. Now let me continue this. Okay, let me put like two circles for you to understand further the point. I'm only talking about the point. If you understand, you see when two circles touch each other, like in what, how many points they are touching. If you understood by now that it's a point, mathematical, the tangent is a point, okay? But again, of what circle? Of what circle? You see, this is the intersection, the tangent intersection of a point. So this is another kind of movement in physics, if you want, tangent. Like if you hit two balls, two spheres, to something, they're tangent in a point. If you are seeing the miracle now, but the tangent, mathematical tangent is non-dimensional. So how non-dimension can be charged with force or something? If you understand that there's some gap between mathematics and physics, you understand, because this is not dimension, and you when you touch in like a Newtonian manner to object in a point, or the mass or the center of mass goes in the point, in a mathematical point, but the point does not exist You understand? So this is not dimension. So how now if you can bring force in a point, because so you see this, you have a defined force like an impact force in a tangential manner, and you have it like per volume. This is the calculus, infinitesimal calculus, that it tends to zero, or the area tends to zero, or if you understand, this was the need for Newton to invent the calculus. But the Newton mathematics is false, okay? But I will tell you at the end of the video. You do not understand what Newton did, okay? So it is this 1 or 2 points, but it is somehow different from this. You see in the number of decimals, like if you know 3.14, if you understand that you cannot reduce the straight line or a circle in mathematics, you'll understand that this point has a weird dimensionality. Like if you understand this dimensionality must be like this, if you understand, if this case has dimensionality, so you see, so now you understand that your analytics, like a perfect ensemble of the mind, is like now weak, very weak. You understand? So now if you want to have a line, you must have a point with dimensionality on this, or if you have many lines in dimensionality of a line. So now what is the dimensionality? Is like this, and for this circle like this. So now you have in 2 ways the dimensionality, okay? So now you see the point becomes more and more existing, but more and more wonderful if you analyze it. So now if you understand this, including the geometry, all the geometry somehow is given in a synthetic manner. You cannot deduce it. You cannot put your mind like from reality, how they were trying to lie, like from empiricity, like in abstract manner they said this and that come, okay? But if you understand, you cannot, because this is self-contradictory. If you understand, it is contradictory and admits no dimension on axis, and admits somehow a wonderful state of mind. Even if it comes from reality, the reality produce this kind of thing from an empirical manner in the subject that is known in the world in like magical manner, because now how the contact is made between you and reality to know this stuff, if you are entailed still that from reality, from somehow kind of, you understand. So you understand that it's more wonderful that you are than you are believing, okay? And it is belief. You are believing in all this stuff, you see. But now if you detach these two, you understand it becomes 2 points from one. And if you intersect many circles like this line, you have many circles at, how do you say, belongs, okay? Who what is the belonging? Who is belonging this point? You see, it is, you see, you have 4 circles, so this point becomes 4. It is 4 circles. If you cannot make it 4 in one point, but it will not be, you cannot define it ontologically in your head to make the distinction between these 4 circles, okay? That I use this, but you imagine the full circle, okay? So if you do not make this proposition is different on this proposition, then that you understand that you will not have the possibility to understand that you can break these circles. So you can define this point to be belonging to this, and this point to belonging to this, and somehow you catch it in your mind for ontological definition. This point belongs to this point belongs to this, A, B, C, and D, for four distinct circles. Okay, so it is one, it is not, it is 4 points, like in a single point, because it is one because it is in the intersection that does not have dimensions, you see. So but you define it in 4 different manners, like this point belongs to this point belongs to this, in 4 different manners. So it is identical and different with itself. It becomes many, and in infinite points you imagine that you can put infinite circles in intersection like this. So it is a cultural channel. I study philosophy, I've told you, and I've told you the scope. The science is wrong, but this is for so you see that there are 6 now. You can barely see if there are 6. You see how feeble is the mind, okay? But there are 6. I made them, okay, like 6, and so now it is defined through 6 combination, and you imagine then a full, exactly like here in infinite of intersection, it becomes infinite points, like in mathematics 1 2 3 4, like infinity. But now you understand that in the point from arithmetic is different from the point of geometry, because you must define something through some properties to exist. So if you understand this unity of existence of one is defined through dimensionality, here you cannot entail that in arithmetics 1 2 3 4 natural number have dimensionality. If you understand now the concept 1 is this metaphysical concept, this is a and this is 1, and this is 1, I am 1, this is 1. You have the possibility to separate the unity. The unity is a metaphysical concept, but it is not a geometrical one. If you understand, it is a unity one. Something is 1, this is the same, this is, you can make both of them, it's equal with itself, it is not missing something. It is like yeah, you are breaking this, you can break a point, it is missing something. It's whole, you see, supposes the totality. It is everything that it is, or it is missing something. It is a totality, you understand? And so it is not an easy deductible intersection or reasoning to suppose that the reasons come from some points, analytical points. The intellect is like a given, like a monolith, like a construction, like a building, and you observe it like in infinite manner from all the parts, if you understand. So it is this one identical with this one. It is not because they are defined in an ontological manner in different ways. You cannot, even in mathematics, you cannot reduce, if you know, in a deep manner, the straight line to a circle. Only with pi, like it has multiple, if you understand. Maybe they did that wrong, I believe, but like this, if you understand natural number and 1.1, 0.2, 1.1, 0.3, okay, and in that continuum manner, the pi is like you have maybe an infinite number that you reduce a straight line to a circle, if you know. So they are somehow different. If you understand only this, you understand that somebody cannot reduce only at the infinite. To deduce the straight line, to make a curved line, already you must have an infinite way of thinking to collapse them, to make. It seems to you that when an object has a property in physics, it moves in straight line. Now it is not different than a circle, but if you know in a deep manner mathematics, you know that you cannot reduce this, but only with a mind that is capable of thinking the infinity. Okay, it is so it's not in an analytical point like step manner deducing from this. So this, if you understand the basis of mathematics, and in this first video, watch another section from Lennox, and then you came back. I brought your mind at the basis of mathematics, if you understand. Nobody is speaking like this, and I like this kind of stuff. This is metaphysics, okay, or the philosophy of mathematics, the basis of mathematics. So if you understand, this is what I want to tell you. It is implying the beliefs. You believe that this is true. You believe, and so the mathematics suppose belief. There are other sciences that suppose, you understand. So they suppose much more beliefs, like in a cumulus manner. If the mathematics says a few of them, they have a few plus and few plus and so on and so forth, if you understand. So watch another section from this video. I'm not commenting, like only at the end you will see. So watch another section.
And it seems to me that that captures something extremely important, that we need to focus on the meaning side, because science is powerful precisely because it limits the questions it can answer. It cannot give us meaning and it cannot give us value. Einstein saw that years ago. He said you could talk about the ethical foundations of science, but you cannot talk about the scientific foundations of ethics. You have to look outside. And I always cite one of Richard Dawkins' favorite scientists, Sir Peter Medawar, who said it's so easy to see. And this is hugely important because science is so powerful. It's so easy to see, he wrote, that science is limited because it cannot even answer the simple questions of a child. Where do I come from? Where am I going, and what is the meaning of life? And to answer those questions, we need to go to literature, and I would add, well, he added philosophy, and I would add theology and a lot of other things as well. Because the fatal flaw in much so-called academic thinking is that people have come to believe that science is coextensive with rationality, which is nonsense. History is a rational discipline, so is theology, so is economics, but they're not the natural sciences. If science and rationality were coextensive, you'd have to close half the departments in every university in the United Kingdom. So that's how I'd begin to approach your question.
So science doesn't really explain the things that we think it explains.
No, that's important.
It's very limited.
Yes, but what you're hinting at there is even deeper, because I used to think at school, because I was pretty naive then, I suppose, that Newton's law of gravity explained gravity. It doesn't, you know. Nobody yet knows really what gravity is. Newton's law of gravitation gives you a mathematical capacity to calculate what happens when heavy bodies move in relation to one another so accurately that it'll help you land a person on the moon. But Newton realized all those years ago that it doesn't tell you what gravity is. So even within science itself, a scientific explanation is rarely, if ever, a complete explanation. I've focused in the last year on the last several years on the nature of explanation because I feel there's huge confusion about it.
So if you watch that, I brought your mind at the basis of mathematics, okay? So one exists, the circle exists. What is a circle? It's dimensional, it's not dimensional. Can you put in a point, infinite points? I'm sure that you can, okay? If you understand, rather the point is infinite than something that you can measure. Something that you can measure, if you understand the infinity, is like without border, without the concept is, rather than so measurable things. So infinity or unmeasurable, like if you suppose that the infinity is infinity, like a structural numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4. But if you understand what wonder is when you count things, 1, 2, 3 object. Because when you understand all the mathematics. One is missing something, it exists somehow, like a concept, it exists somehow. You are thinking about it, you put a light of reasoning on it, you see, you catch it in a corner and you put the lantern of reasoning and you see one. And when we want to study it deeply, you observe that you must intersect all the reasoning, the atoms of thought, and you put the lantern and you try to think about what is one. It is missing something, having everything. It is everything that it is itself is missing something. And you understand that you suppose a number of other concepts from the reasoning, and you do not understand how many do you put to understand this. You when you cut the reasoning, not to go in circles and big pools to to drown yourself in this. You cut them, but you do not have an analytic step-like manner. So then you believe that you can understand somehow what is one, what is an object. How can your mind, you see, and then you are capable to say this proposition, like, I observe the reality with my eyes. But maybe who said if you have eyes does not enter infinity and wonderful things into your eyes, and